When you put your heart and soul into creating something, you want it to make an impact, to endure, to express something. What does it take to get there? I'm Questlove, and this is Quest for Craft, my collaboration with the makers of the Balvenie single malt Scotch whiskey. A deep dive into the obsessive, never-ending, whatever-it-takes journey to create something extraordinary. The fundamental source of craft is the human being behind it. Whether you're working from a soul level, from your lived experience, or as a collective, yourself plays into what makes your work distinct and true. Today, I'm here in Electrical 80 Studios with actor, director, and producer America Ferrera and a 21-year-old bottle of the Balvenie Portwood. We're exploring the dynamic between craft and self. How does who you are influence what you create? And does what you create change who you are? How has your craft changed as you've gained more experience in life?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't have any kind of like training per se. I just did school theater. You know, 7th graders self-directing like an all-women's version of Othello, which I like directed and was Othello, and I did tie for first place. No big deal. But I didn't necessarily have any training. And so about 5 years into my career, I was getting sick of myself. I was like, I know my tricks and I'm kind of just falling into these patterns and I'm really kind of like stuck. And I didn't feel like I had craft. So it changed everything once I thought of my work as craft and not just, you know, winging it every time the camera went on.
When you have to borrow from your life instead of someone else's life, do you find that easier or harder to make yourself transparent? Like, do you get paranoid or you overthink that you're revealing too much?
No, I actually don't know how to do it any other way. And I don't know if that makes me a lesser actor or a different kind of actor, but I entered my creative world as a kid wanting to like express what was inside of me. And it felt like acting and being a character is a place where, like, even if you're bringing through the most personal experience, you get to do it in a safe place inside of a character, you know? And, one scene I'm thinking of is, you know this movie, because you know all of us. This is The Sister of the Traveling Pants. And the scene that my character does where she has to call her dad and have this sort of reckoning that becomes a really emotional scene. And we did the scene, I want to say 13 times. And it was beginning to end just me talking the whole time. And there was no one on the other line. You know, Bradley Whitford wasn't there. He was like, had shot it 3 weeks earlier. It was just me and a phone. And the 13th time we did it, it was like the right amount of times where like I could no longer act. And it like something in me cracked open. And then it was just like me talking to my dad, you know, and I watched that. I remember my family watching that scene and being like, oh my God, like it was so hard for them to watch. Wow. And it's still really hard for me to watch. But it's like in every role, even characters that felt very far away from me, my way in was the connection. Like, what of me do I see in this? Or what unexpressed part of me is in here? And I get a chance to tap into that by being in the protection of this character.
I know that you've collaborated with people that have a different creative process. Can you give an example of someone that you've worked with that has a whole nother creative direction that is far from what yours is?
As you were speaking, the thing that came to mind was I made a movie with Ricky Gervais for Netflix. It was called Special Correspondence. Mm-hmm. And he directed it. He directed it and was acting in it. And I was so fascinated to watch him do that. Like, how do you go between that role and this role? And it was so fascinating to see that he had no split personalities. He was like one whole person who was in the scene with you and a director at the same time. And I'm not like acting and then stopping and directing. It was like he was all of the things at the same time. And he'd be like in the scene with you.
So he never broke character?
Oh, he broke character all the time. Like, he laughed all the time. He ruined every take. He like talked over you if you were funny, and he was so generous with his laugh. It's so satisfying to make Ricky Gervais laugh until you realize he laughs at everything. And he's like in the scene with you and like acting with you, but then he's at the same time watching you and then encouraging you. It was the most amazing thing I'd ever seen. I thought, like, I would have never thought to do it that way, to just be all of the things at the same time and not like put on one hat, take that off, put the other one on. It was it was inspiring to see, actually.
Another comedian who draws heavily from his sense of self is my pal, Mike Birbiglia, an acclaimed stand-up, storyteller, and filmmaker who bases all of his work on his own life.
I couldn't believe it. 39 years old, diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. He said, is there anything in your diet that might be spiking your blood sugar? I said, sometimes I eat pizza until I'm unconscious. He said, I think that might be it.
His ability to be deeply personal is his superpower. It's how he builds his deep connection with audiences. We spent some time with Mike as he prepared for a show at the Comedy Cellar in New York City and talked to him about the connection between craft and self.
For a long time, I was mimicking what I saw people do. So early on in my career, in a lot of ways, I was sort of doing Stephen Wright jokes or Mitch Hedberg jokes. Because I think early on, in any art form, you're just watching professionals who you enjoy do it. And then you're trying to imitate it. And at a certain point, there's an early mentor of mine. He goes, if you write jokes about your own life, no one can steal them. Yeah, I don't know what to teach my daughter. Like, she's 9. Jenny said to me recently, she goes, like, we're gonna have to give her a sex talk. And I said to my wife, like, maybe we should have sex. Take questions or whatever, you know? A lot of my process is writing in my journal, because I find if you write down what you're saddest about or angriest about, you can start to see your own life as a story. And if you see your own life as a story, sometimes you can read back what you did, and then it encourages the main character to make better decisions. If you look around, you know, this is my whole existence. Is I write in journals, I write jokes on cards, I try out jokes constantly. I mean, I just have the names of jokes on cards. So like, this is crying at the ballet recital. This is called Now I Smell Like the Hotel. A lot of these cards are just like jokes that I haven't even really done on stage. Some of these are not gonna be funny. It's new stuff, you know, it's like new material. But like, what I'm trying to find, like anything in comedy, is really a Venn diagram of what I think is funny, and meeting with what you think is funny, and then somewhere in between is hopefully something we all agree on. Some of these we do not agree on. Secrets are the most fun type of comedy because it creates a bond with the audience that's unlike any other audience bond that I've experienced. When I'm talking on stage about, for example, my sleepwalking or my relationship with my wife, with my daughter, anything that's really personal, you create a relationship with the audience, which is kind of beautiful because they're complete strangers. And you are volunteering and saying, hey, I'm gonna tell you everything that's on my mind. And I think the sleight of hand of it is, it's funny, right? You should have given it that much laughter. If I'm auditioning for a movie or something, there's gonna be 100 people who look like me and maybe sound like me or whatever. There's a lot of actors. Bringing my essence to it or my version of it is usually the best version of it that I can give. Which is true of stand-up and it's true of directing. It's like your voice is kind of all you have.
Okay, let's talk about hashtag the monologue. Are you tired of people like the monologue? But obviously in Barbie, the monologue is really the centerpiece of the entire film. Could you tell me how that developed and how much you had to really pull inside of you to bring it to life as far as your sense of self?
I mean, the script was such an incredibly hilarious and delightful read, and I was laughing and just enjoying it so much. And then when I meet Gloria, like I felt so moved that this like real world woman with disappointments and frustrations and dead ends at work and a kid who's pulling away from her, that like I could cry just thinking about it. It's like, oh, we get to, for me, it was like, I'm here, like I'm in this. And then to discover that like this whole fantastical world of child's play and Barbie and perfection and plastic is really about an incredibly imperfect and messy experience of life and womanhood, and that this character gets to be the one on the journey it was such a gift, and it was so exciting, and it was just so special and so unexpected and so not what anyone thinks is going to happen when you sit down and read a Barbie script. And this hit me as very true. It's obviously a very important moment in the movie. Like, I don't want to be the one to F this up, you know? So it definitely felt like, you know, a high stakes moment. And we spent months kind of weaving the words on the page to like real life experience for me, for Greta, what we were seeing like arise in the culture. You know, I shot it like a matter of weeks after Roe v. Wade was overturned. And I remember getting there on the day and saying to her, like, what does this sound like to you in your head? Am I like, you know, saying these truths, but saying them in like a cheerful way so it still feels like a Barbie movie? Or, you know, like, and it was the only time on set that she sort of said to me, like, I don't know. And I just want you to find it. And I want you to dive in and we'll discover it together.
How many takes did it take?
I don't know for sure, but we shot it for 2 days. So I'm pretty sure that I said that monologue top to bottom 30 to 50 times, I'm going to say, on set. I was very tired when it was done.
At what point did it become muscle memory?
This is going to sound insane. I don't learn my lines, particularly when it's something that is so idea and emotion driven. But because I knew we were going to film it a million times and we were going to film it over 2 days, I didn't want to get stuck in a certain way of thinking about a line or saying a line. But by the end, I knew that everyone knew the words by the end. Like yeah. But the goal was like, drop into this thing that by that point felt so woven into my character's journey, me, America, and my experience of womanhood, the cultural narrative around womanhood at the time. You know, it was the world and the material and the character journey. And it was all just, it's like being in a bath and all the bath toys are just there on the surface and you don't know which one you're going to reach for till you're like playing. Mm. And it's one of those days or moments as an actor that like, that you live for. That for me, it's like, I just got to swim with this beautiful writing in this beautiful world with all the trust of this incredible director. And I got to just discover and play. And that's like our version of like a jam session. Mm-hmm. Is that a good analogy?
Great analogy. I got you. Is there an aspect of your personality that has not made it into a role that you've played yet?
Getting to be darker, getting to be more complex, I think for a lot of reasons. But also as I grow older as an adult woman, it's like I become more complex as a human being. And then it's like, oh, I'm discovering new aspects of myself all the time. I would relish the opportunity to get to like find the role that lets me like play into this part of myself that I just found. So yeah, and I think that, look, typecasting is real. I feel like for a lot of my career, I've played a type, not least of which is like a brown Latina stereotype, sort of underdog, making it against all odds. You know, I've played that part a lot. And I've enjoyed the characters I've gotten to do, and I'm so grateful for the incredible opportunities I've had. But I'm also, as an artist, always looking for opportunities to get to play outside of like when people see you doing something and they're like, oh, you're good at that. Like people just want to see you keep doing that thing that you're good at. So, you know, I can't wait. All I ever want is another job and another chance to get to do good work and new work that excites me.
Here we are at the Balvenie distillery looking at barrels full of Scotch whiskey and Caribbean rum. Why would a single malt Scotch company blend their own rum? Because they want to ensure their Caribbean Cask whiskey radiates with the intangible qualities of the Balvenie. After the rum matures in barrels for several months, the rum will then be taken out the cask, and those same barrels will be filled with 14-year-old Balvenie. For the next few months, the whiskey will absorb the fruity, spicy notes from the rum barrels. It's the opposite of a shortcut. It's like a home builder who insists on growing their own trees, or a painter who makes their own paint. It takes longer, but the outcome is extraordinary. When it comes to creativity, there's an odd intersection between ego and generosity. The more of your own individual stamp you put on your work, the more of yourself you share with the world. In the Balvenie's case, the result is an amazing whiskey that tastes like nothing else. And that's the point. Okay, what advice could you give to fellow artists in terms of finding themselves?
I think it's paying deep attention to what the material brings up in you. Listening for what's here for me. Like, where's the medicine for me in this? I don't think you need to like be fully healed from your trauma, like therapized person to be a good artist. What drives me towards a story or a character is something inside of me that sees an opportunity inside of the material to be known, to be expressed. And I think that every time I set out to do my work, either as a director, as an actress, as a producer, and, you know, even when I step out in moments to play the persona, I feel like even in those moments, there's something for me to learn about myself and about what comes up for me and how can I come closer and closer to the truth of who I am. And maybe one day, the America who steps out to be the persona and steps into this character and goes home and does the laundry, maybe one day they'll all be the same America. And then all of it feels a little bit like art and like your life is an art and creativity is possible in every moment. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I don't know if that made any sense.
You just displayed it right now. Well, thank you very much, America. I appreciate you doing this for us. America Ferrera, ladies and gentlemen. Maybe the best example of self is this studio, Electric Lady. This place is the direct expression of Jimi Hendrix. All of it began with Jimmy's belief that music is a universal language. This is the irony and paradox of self. Reaching into yourself is ultimately the more powerful way to reach others.